contract requisition to PSPC for the first ArriveCAN contract awarded to GC Strategies?
So just to be, thank you for the question, Mr. Chair. So to be clear, the requisition was the beginning of the process to put a contract in place. It wasn't the actual contract. And that was only done after the decision was rendered on which direction and vendor to go with to work on an ArriveCAN application. And that decision came down from our VP and president at the time.
Thank you. But you were the individual who signed off on that requisition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. I haven't seen the document that the OEG was referring to, but it sounds in around that the same time frame and area.
Thank you. I guess my next question does refer to the Auditor General's report. Why did you not pursue the alternatives given to you by PSPC to make this contract competitive? In other words, the Auditor General mentioned a suggestion which would have allowed a shorter bidding period of just 10 days, which would have worked with necessary timelines. Why did you not pursue that?
I'll start off if you want to jump in after, but so a couple things, just to put some more context to it. 10 days is the actual timeline that would be put on the street, if you will, for vendors to participate. However, leading up to that, there's the development time to create a proposal, and that takes weeks, if not months, to do. Second, when we worked with PSPC, we worked in conjunction with them as well as our internal controllership with a targeted goal to move forward with an RFP as quickly as possible. The third thing is we were given direction from our superiors that we will not be able to stop. We didn't have the luxury of pausing during the pandemic, and so we followed that direction, and we were working with the experts in procurement and contracting, and we did the best that we could with the tools that we had. But we'd never had the authorities to just make unilateral contracting decisions. I just want to reiterate that.
Thank you.
If I could just add a couple of things. The first contract that happened with GC Strategies was, I believe, for about $1.4 million. We were told at the time it was exceptional circumstances. The borders had closed. We had no idea where ArriveCAN was going. We had no idea what it would turn into. And we were told, go get this done. We need to get something out there. So I have to admit, like, the CBSA, and I say it as an agency, not Mr. Utano or not myself,
right,
but we did push back at PSPC. Oftentimes people say something can take 10 days, but it can also take 10 weeks.
Sure.
So,
thank you for that. I appreciate that explanation. Mr. Utano, you just said something that has piqued my interest when you talk about curating a proposal. Who is responsible to curate a proposal?
So as far as roles and responsibilities, I can tell you that as the acting DG or DG, we don't have that. We don't have the responsibility to write. We don't write RFPs. We don't do evaluations of submissions, and we don't select
Who
vendors.
does?
Well, it's done in collaboration with the team. So there'd be
Okay.
there'd be technical authorities and others involved in that.
So can you tell me who was responsible for signing off on the second contract awarded to GC Strategies for ArriveCAN?
yeah, maybe I'll start with that. So GC Strategies had met with the commercial branch and travelers branch. I wasn't part of it, and they did, they call it a technical bake-off, but there were two companies that were showcasing their technology. I believe it was commercial branch chose the GC Strategies and wrote a justification for national security exemption. That justification went to the CFO, Jonathan Moore, who then wrote a letter to PSPC seeking approval for the national security exemption. I provided this evidence to all committee members. In that letter, it actually states that they had a preferred vendor who had done work with Transport Canada, hence the commercial ties. So we took that on because we were the IT team. But the genesis of the second contract was additional scope to tie into ArriveCAN that came from the business line.
Thank you. And I guess my next question was, who was responsible for signing off on the third contract awarded to GC Strategies? And a follow-up would be, who would be responsible for documenting all of these contracts?
The third contract, just to try and answer your question as quickly as possible, the third contract was for accessibility. I believe it was also done under the National Security Exemption banner, which provided PSPC and CBSA with availability to do a sole source. The reason that GC Strategies was chosen for the third contract was kind of like if you were adding scope to a kitchen renovation. You're not going to go hire a net new contractor to come in, but you have to have a new contract for it. That's what PSPC said. The original two didn't have that in scope, so we needed a third contract. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. How much time do I have?
You have minus 20 seconds.
Thanks.